What was the toughest thing for you transferring over to MMA?
Honestly, starting over, I think that was the toughest part. It had nothing to do with like my abilities, but it had to do that I was low guy on the totem pole again.
Yeah. And it's weird because you do that once you come out of middle school.
Yep.
You're the low guy in totem pole in high school. As soon as you could be a badass in high school, then you go to college, you're the low guy again.
Drop back down.
And then when most wrestlers, when they're D1 or that high level, they're the men. They're the man. Yeah. They go into any wrestling room, they're usually the man. But then you come into the MMA room and it's like, what the fuck? Dude, now I'm the bitch again?
Oh, it was terrible. And I got, like, you guys know, my first day was like a Wednesday. I'd only ever like drunkenly thrown a punch. I got fucked up by everybody. Everybody took turns on me.
I remember looking over you. I'm like, who the fuck's this pretty boy? And someone kicked you right in your head and then started punching you. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go help him. So I went over to Mikey. I'm like, okay, so you put your hands up like this. This hand's by your chin. If they kick you in the head, and I taught him how to block kicks because I felt bad. Oh. But you stuck around.
I started double-legging people on stand-up day.
Yeah. So how far were you in when you broke your face?
Oh, I'd only been fighting for like 3 months.
Oh my God.
Were you there that day, Sean?
Yeah.
It sounded like someone hitting a baseball with a baseball bat. Like it sounded something shattering. And I look over and Mikey's crawling to the fence.
Going, fuck.
Took a shower. You were just like sitting in there shaking, taking the shower. And then what was the injury?
Well, so then I was all concussed, right? Like I was like crying and had no idea why I was crying. I thought I went out, but I guess I didn't. I just don't remember it. And Crouch came up to me and he's like, hey, you need to go to the hospital. And I didn't know Crouch that well at this point. And I thought that he said that I need to go to the hospital for a concussion. So I thought he was saying that I was being a pussy. And so I looked at him and go, well, you think I'm being some sort of pussy or something? All concussed and fucked up. And he's like, no, your eye is starting to dangle. Let's take you to the hospital. So we went to the hospital and I shattered my orbital. There's a bone that goes from like the base of your eye down to your jaw. I broke that in 2 places. And then there's a bone that connects from your eye to your ear, and I broke that. So I've got like something stupid like 16 screws and 4 plates in my face now.
Yeah. So did it go through your mind? How many people told you, well, you can't fight anymore. You're done fighting. Did it go through your mind?
Oh, yeah. My mom, I remember like we were in the hospital. I just woke up from surgery and my mom was in there and she was all talking to me. And she's always been super supportive of me. And Crouch came in and Crouch was like, hey, like that's just like kind of a freak accident. Like it never happens. You know, we're really excited to get you back. I think you got a bright future. And my mom looked at me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm super stoked to get back. My mom looked at me like I killed somebody. She's like, you're going to go back to that shit? This isn't enough? Yeah. And I was like, well, if this is really, realistically, this is one of the worst things that can ever happen to you fighting.
Yep.
And I'm fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So ever since then, I was hooked.
So, like, coming out of college, there's fucking... Every year, there's thousands of guys graduating from D1 wrestling. How come you don't think more transfer to MMA?
You know,
burnt out?
Yeah, so I do. I think they're just done competing. Because when I finished my college career, I took a solid 6 months off and didn't do anything. Like, I barely went to class. Like, I just partied. Like, I was so stoked that I was done with fucking wrestling. It's just such a miserable thing. Like, and you've been doing it. If you made it to the Division I level, you've been doing it since you were a little kid.
Yeah.
And grinding every single day. And it's just the same thing. Like, you can only learn so much different things and mix up practice so many different ways. It's just drill, wrestle live, go home, cut weight.
Yep. And I can see how guys get burnt out. Like, that's the thing. Like, when I have a kid, like, what age do you start them? I'm thinking middle school for wrestling wise.
I think that's a hard thing to say because you can't, like, what if your kid comes up to you and he's like 5th or like 3rd grade and he's like, my best friend Billy does wrestling, I want to start wrestling. And then he wrestles and he loves it.
Yeah, that's true. So you're 5-2 now as a pro.
6-2, thank you.
6-2 as a pro at 145 pounds.
Yeah.
And you just got your first win back, but before that you were on a 2-fight skid.
Yeah, I didn't win in like a year and a half.
Oh, so what's your mindset like that, preparing for that, your next fight after you're on a 2-fight skid already?
Terrible. Like, it started out fine. I was like, I just got to treat this like another fight. Like, the last 2 fights weren't me. They don't matter. But then and I had a really good mindset at the beginning. And then as camp kind of went on, you just start doubting yourself. And thank God I've got pretty positive self-talk with myself. But there was thoughts that would run through my head like, well, if you lose this fight, that's 3 in a row. You're never making it to the big show.
Yep.
Might as well retire. And so then I started thinking like, what kind of fucking job am I going to get? Like, this sounds terrible. I don't want to go into the workforce. And so it goes on from there. But luckily, when the fight got close enough, I was like, you know what? None of that stuff matters. Go in, do your best, perform. Good thing will happen.
A lot of people, they get asked what basketball is like that. They start defining themselves and be like, God, I'm just a bitch. I'm not very tough. And especially after 2 losses, like that's why it was important, like, and you've competed at such a high level that it's easy for you to just stay in the moment, not worry about what happened in the past and all that shit that's pointless to focus on.
Yeah.
You were able to stay in the moment, like, and
But,
you got
like,
that win.
Even my mom said it, like, I got that win, and normally, like, after I win, like, and I knew I won, even though I'd went the whole distance, even though I'd went to decision, I'd won every round. And normally I get up and I'm jacked up. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I just won. You know, you feel all these crazy emotions. Literally, after this fight got done, I was, like, relieved. I was like, oh, God, thank God I won. I can't do that to myself again.
That's the thing. It's relief, because you don't understand when leading up to this fight, especially for Mikey, you're coming off a loss. Sometimes you're like, okay, my whole future relies on this 15 minutes and what happens in this 15 minutes. So like you're stressed out. It's hard to plan after that, because it's hard to plan any time after that, because you gotta, like, you get half the money.
And most fighters are poor, so it's like you've already spent that money in your head.
Yeah. So that's the thing. As soon as you fucking get that fight and get your hand raised, it's relief. That's the best word for it. Like, oh, now I can just fucking relax a little bit.
Oh shit. I don't know. It was tough, man. There was definitely multiple times when I was just like, I don't think I'm made for this. I don't think I'm a fighter anymore. Like, I was having like a lot of head issues, you know, a lot of health problems going on. I was like, I beat my body up hard for 20 years of wrestling.